The Tampa Bay Lightning have made it back to the Eastern Conference Finals as the reigning defending Eastern Conference champions, and I'm actually scared. In case you aren't aware, the Tampa Bay Lightning are taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Eastern Conference Final of this year's playoffs. And I just can't help but get a little bit scared knowing that we're going to be playing a team that's got superstars such as Crosby, Malkin, Kessel. Benino has come into his own in the playoffs. And then on the back end, you have upcoming stars like Ali Mata, you have Trevor Daley, superstar defenseman Chris Letang, and then the incredible goaltending that has come in the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Matt Murray, a rookie goaltender who is just blowing people's minds. I can't help but get a little bit scared knowing that this team was not even going to make the playoffs come mid-December, but they fire their coach and bring in Mike Sullivan, who has brought this team to a 104-point regular season heading into the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Penguins are averaging 3.36 goals per game, which is good for first in the NHL. The line of Carl Hagelin, Nick Bonino, and Phil Kessel has been arguably the best line in the entire Stanley Cup playoffs, and that's after facing teams such as the Washington Capitals in the second round and the New York Rangers in the first round. Look, I know I've been raising up the Penguins a little bit on a pedestal here. I'll get to the Lightning in a second. Obviously, I support them and hope that they're going to win. But first, I do have to bring up an important point about the playoff matchups for the Pittsburgh Penguins. In the 2015 Stanley Cup playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins went against the New York Rangers, a team who seems like they're making it to the conference final or the Stanley Cup final every single year, and lost 4-1. In all 4 of those losses, Pittsburgh only managed to score 1 goal and headed for an early playoff exit. The New York Rangers, on the other hand, would go on to face Washington, beat them in 7 games, head on to the Eastern Conference Final, play the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Eastern Conference Final, and then eventually lose in 7 games for us to advance to the Stanley Cup Final. This year, Pittsburgh ends up playing the New York Rangers in the first round again, completely stomps all over them, beats them 4-1, plays Washington in the second round, beats them in 6 games with the best goals per game average, and now who are they facing? The Tampa Bay Lightning. Speaking of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think it's time we start talking about them, right? The Tampa Bay Lightning did not have a good regular season at all, just like the Pittsburgh Penguins. And while we were never going to fire our coach, John Cooper, that would just be absurd, we would make major changes had we not been in a playoff spot come the trade deadline. End of the season comes, we see that we're playing the Detroit Red Wings again in the first round. Oh, look at that, we beat them in 5 games, on to round 2 for this weak team. The New York Islanders, they take out the Florida Panthers, end up going against the Tampa Bay Lightning, demolish us in the first game, and then suddenly the doubt starts to kick in. The New York Islanders haven't won a playoff series since 1980. They made it to the second round. We're a weaker team than we were last year. Maybe this is the New York Islanders' year. But godlike pressure that Victor Hedman just deployed all over the ice, combine that with the Vezina-like candidate of Ben Bishop and the goal-scoring machine of Nikita Kucherov, we were able to take down the New York Islanders in 5 games again and get a few days extra rest. And all this, need I remind you, we haven't had Steven Stamkos, Anton Strawman, and JT Brown for a majority of the playoffs so far. JT Brown, we may end up getting back tonight, but Steven Stamkos and Anton Strawman are going to be out for at least game 1 of this series. Steven Stamkos probably on the longer end of that spectrum. I expect Anton Strawman to be back in game 2 of the series, however. So now that we've recapped kind of both teams' seasons, how they got to the conference final, I guess it's time to finally make my prediction on who has the advantage heading into this series. Pittsburgh. On all fronts, Pittsburgh has more depth on their roster, probably one of the most deep teams in the playoffs at the moment, outside of the St. Louis Blues. Their bottom lines score more than ours. Their top lines can produce insane numbers, especially when they're hot. Luckily, right now, they're not heading into the series. And they have a goaltender who has been spectacular all series long, all playoffs long, in fact, and it's a rookie, so you never know what you're going to get out of him, whether it be very high or very low. While I do think the Tampa Bay Lightning have the advantage in goal and on our defense with Victor Hedman, Anton Strawman coming back, Braden Coburn, who has just been a beast, I do think our offense, even though we have Nikita Kucherov, even though we have Tyler Johnson, Jonathan Drouin, that's really it. Our secondary scoring has been missing a lot of these playoffs. Now, just because the Pittsburgh Penguins have the advantage coming in this series, I don't think that they're actually going to win. Obviously, I'm going to put my team ahead, be a little biased here, but my actual thought process has some marks. Yes, while I do think the Pittsburgh Penguins offense is much better at this point in time in the playoffs, heading into this series, their top players are just dead. I mean, our players, Nikita Kucherov, Andre Palat, Tyler Johnson, Jonathan Drouin, Brian Boyle, I can go on and on and on. They're all hot right now. They have scored tons of goals in both playoff series, while the Pittsburgh Penguins, on the other hand, Sidney Crosby and Malkin have stayed a little dry. And while both teams are incredibly fast, I do think the Tampa Bay Lightning hold a slight edge in that department on both offense and defense, being able to move the puck up the ice quicker, which has been proven to be a big downfall for Pittsburgh this year. Just look at the Washington series. Game 6 was a perfect example. Pittsburgh held a 3-0 lead. Washington starts to come back with a little bit of speed. They pick up 2 quick goals, now albeit on the power play, but it proves that Pittsburgh does not do well under pressure. And if they start taking those penalties, if they start getting forced into speeds that they can't match, then it's going to be a problem in this series. And that's something that the Tampa Bay Lightning have done to both the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Islanders better than we did last season, and that's close out teams. We put a lot of pressure on you, surround you with speed, and if you can't handle it, you're just going to drop in 5 games like the previous series. So my prediction for the series is yes, it's going to be tough. It's going to be nerve-wracking. It's going to be probably the best series I've ever seen ever come out of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Pittsburgh Penguins. But we're going to win in 7 games in Pittsburgh at their home arena, and we're going to make it back to the Stanley Cup final for the 2nd year in a row. But that's just what I think. Let me know in the comments below what you think and how this series is going to turn out. Also, let me know what you think about the West series. I'm not really in tune with them. I want to start watching their games a lot more, so give me some knowledge on that. Like the video if you want to see more of me talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning and our playoff series so far, and subscribe if you want to see more content surrounding the Tampa Bay Lightning. As we head into the offseason, I want to do more videos such as Steven Stamkos debate, Jonathan Drouin, offseason changes, whether or not we should keep Ben Bishop versus Andrei Vasilevsky. I want to do a lot of those videos, so definitely subscribe if you want to see more of that. Oh, yeah, and please let us have a good start to a series.